The entire path begins at contact, the Buddha's hidden map of how suffering is constructed and unconstructed. Most people think suffering begins when they feel desire, or when anger appears, or when attachment takes hold. The Buddha points us somewhere much earlier. He points us to contact. Not because contact is the problem, but because contact is where the entire world of experience begins. If we do not understand contact, we become trapped in the worlds constructed from it. If we understand contact deeply, suffering begins to unravel at its source. This reveals a remarkable progression running throughout the early discourses, a progression that explains not only how suffering is built, but how it is dismantled. Step 1. Contact is the gateway to the world. The Buddha repeatedly defines contact as the meeting of three conditions: a sense faculty, an object, the corresponding consciousness. When eye, form, and eye consciousness come together, there is contact. When ear, sound, and ear consciousness come together, there is contact. The same principle applies across all six senses. Contact is not a thing. It is the event through which experience becomes possible. Without contact, no feeling, no perception, no recognition, no world of experience. This is why the Buddha repeatedly says that contact should be understood. Step 2. Experience already contains feeling, perception, and consciousness. Once contact is present, experience is already functioning. Feeling feels. Perception recognizes. Consciousness knows. The Buddha describes these as distinct functions that operate together within experience. Because perception recognizes characteristics, experience becomes meaningful. Colors are identified. Sounds are distinguished. Objects are recognized. This is not yet suffering, but it creates the conditions for what comes next. Step 3. Perception presents signs. Perception does more than merely recognize. It highlights. Certain features stand out. Some appear attractive. Some appear unpleasant. Some appear desirable. Some appear threatening. These are the signs that capture attention. The Buddha explains that when mindfulness is lost, the mind begins attending to these signs. A pleasant sign becomes fascinating. An unpleasant sign becomes disturbing. The experience itself is no longer being understood. The sign has become the focus. Step 4. Craving begins its work. The Buddha uses a striking image. Craving is like a seamstress. A single contact is not enough. A single feeling is not enough. A single perception is not enough. Craving begins stitching them together. A pleasant feeling becomes, open quote, I want this, close quote. An unpleasant feeling becomes, open quote, I don't want this, close quote. A neutral feeling becomes, open quote, something is missing, close quote. What was merely a feeling is no longer experienced as just a feeling. The mind begins adding significance, continuity, and ownership. A pleasant feeling becomes something to pursue. A painful feeling becomes something to resist. A neutral feeling becomes something to escape. In this way, craving weaves separate experiences into a personal narrative. A fleeting feeling becomes a story. A story becomes a pattern. A pattern becomes an identity. An identity becomes something to protect and defend. This is why the Buddha called craving the seamstress. It stitches together what is naturally arising and ceasing, creating the appearance of a solid and continuous world of, open quote, I, close quote, open quote, me, close quote, open quote, mine, close quote. The stitching process has begun. Step 5. The same process creates views. Many people assume that craving and philosophy belong to different domains. The Buddha shows otherwise. Even elaborate views about existence, non-existence, self, reality, the past, and the future are traced back to contact. The lesson is profound. The problem is not merely emotional attachment. The problem is fixation. The mind takes conditioned experience and builds something upon it. Sometimes that construction becomes desire. Sometimes it becomes a worldview. Both arise from not fully understanding conditions. Step 6. The world is being constructed. The Buddha frequently speaks about the arising and cessation of the world. This is not primarily a discussion about cosmology. It is a discussion about experience. Contact arises. Feeling arises. Perception arises. Craving arises. Clinging arises. A world takes shape. The world of, open quote, I, close quote, open quote, me, close quote, open quote, mine, close quote. The practitioner begins to realize that what feels solid is actually being assembled through conditions. Step 7. Why right view is different. Most views take a position. Right view sees a process. The Buddha says the world is generally trapped between two extremes. Open quote, everything exists, close quote, or open quote, nothing exists. Close quote, both arise from misunderstanding. One who sees arising clearly does not fall into non-existence. One who sees cessation clearly does not fall into existence. Instead of clinging to positions, the practitioner sees, open quote, this arises due to conditions, close quote, open quote, this ceases due to conditions, close quote. This understanding cuts through speculation and returns attention to what is directly knowable. Step 8. The forgotten half of practice. Most people notice arising. Few notice cessation. We notice pleasure arising. We notice anger arising. We notice desire arising. The Buddha repeatedly directs attention to what happens next. Contact ceases. Feeling ceases. Perception ceases. Thoughts cease. Experiences cease. When cessation is ignored, continuity is imagined. When cessation is understood, ownership weakens. The mind begins to see that what it was trying to possess never stayed long enough to be possessed. Step 9. The role of mindfulness, wise attention, and wisdom. This transformation depends on three qualities working together: mindfulness and clear comprehension. These keep the process visible. Instead of becoming lost in stories, we begin noticing contact, feeling, perception, and reaction as they occur. Wise attention. This investigates experience. It asks, what conditions support this? How did this arise? Is it lasting? Does it cease? Wise attention turns the mind away from narratives and toward causes and conditions. Wisdom. Wisdom is what emerges when experience is investigated thoroughly. The aggregates are seen as foam, bubbles, mirages, banana trunks, illusions. What once appeared solid reveals itself to be empty of any enduring core. Step 10. The path moves in the opposite direction. The construction of suffering moves toward accumulation. The Noble Eightfold Path moves toward relinquishment. Every factor of the path is developed, dependent on seclusion, dependent on dispassion, dependent on cessation, culminating in letting go. This is a complete reversal of the ordinary movement of the mind. Instead of building, the path releases. Instead of accumulating, the path relinquishes. Instead of constructing identity, it loosens identification. The final shift. Many practitioners assume the goal is to fight craving directly. The Buddha's teachings reveal something subtler. Craving becomes weak when its foundation is understood. Views become weak when their conditions are understood. Clinging becomes weak when the process of construction is understood. This is why the Buddha repeatedly points back to contact. The task is not merely to manage the finished product. The task is to understand the entire process from beginning to end. Understand contact. Understand its arising. Understand its cessation. See how perception presents signs. See how craving stitches experiences together. See how views and identities are constructed. See how everything depends upon conditions. And then follow the path that inclines toward seclusion, dispassion, cessation, relinquishment. When this understanding matures, craving loses its thread. Views lose their rigidity. The world no longer needs to be possessed, defended, or resisted. What remains is simple knowledge. Things arise due to conditions. Things cease due to conditions. And in that understanding, suffering finds nothing left to build upon.